Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drankin' Champagne. I am Drank. I am joined by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Andrew, my friend, how are you doing today?
Well, today was an interesting day. So I committed last week to helping a friend of mine, Tom Goslovsky, who is he's a on-air radio host in Albany, New York. He hosts a show in the afternoon drives on the Fox Sports Radio Network up there called Levac and Gaz. Well, Levac is on vacation, so he's had fill-in people all week, and so I decided, okay, I'll help you fill in here. So we did 3 hours of really good, solid radio. Except when he tried to upload the show to the drive that was provided by the radio station, something didn't work. This is notable because I tweeted out that I would try not to burn everything down. So I'm just going to blame myself for that one. Hand up, my bad, for whatever technical issues happened there. It is, however, up on the Levac and Gaz podcast network. So if you want to go over to Spotify and take a look at that and potentially hear me just ramble for the better part of 3 hours, by all means, go ahead. That was a lot of fun, though. That's originally what I went to college to do. I went to college to do television and radio, and then I graduated, got out in the depths of the Great Recession and realized there were no jobs. So I pivoted over to the digital media side of things, and that's where I've been for about the last 15 years. But that was a lot of fun. Really happy I was able to do that with Gaz, who is an all-time good guy. Levac on vacation, another good guy as well. Cannot possibly say enough good things about them, even if they do have Matthew DeSantis on the radio from time to time. Well, we won't hold that against them too much. Speaking of which, I've been hearing reports. Did he at some point this morning say it was a beautiful day in Saratoga? Because, Josh, a monsoon hit Saratoga on Wednesday.
I have no idea what happened, but it looks like, I mean, they took everything off the turf today, and I had a heck of a time today. We're obviously recording this on Wednesday night. I thought there were a couple of races I bet, and I thought I had the prices I was okay taking, and I got halved in a double pool and won. And I mean, that's just commonplace at this point. So I should have known better. I should have waited a little bit longer to place that bet. But I made incremental, wins, and then the last couple of races I just had no clue and came back down to earth. But we go again tomorrow. We'll see what we find. But more importantly, Andrew, we're gonna look at Friday's card.
Yes, we are. We're going to look at Friday. Friday's card, a good one. We've got 10 races on tap, and we'll talk about one of these races that in our extensive pre-show meeting, I deemed the most confusing of the meet to this point at Saratoga. But we're going to start with the late pick four. I am going to try for my second winning pick four ticket in a row, as I believe Josh has exited the stream. No idea what the heck happened there. We are now seeing nobody. Now you're seeing me, and now you're seeing the racing form. Josh, what's going on?
I have no idea what just happened. It just completely just went kaput. But I think we're back. You were saying, Andrew.
Fingers, toes, and eyes all crossed. I don't know how much of that anybody got. But long story short, I'm going to try for my second pick four win in a row, and hopefully this one pays a little bit more than last week's did. Last week, I scratched down to a $16 ticket that hit, and I don't think it paid more than $30. So we're going to try for something a little bit bigger, and I'm going to take a stand here in race number 7. This is a wide open claiming event on paper, but I'm looking at the form here, Josh. I see speed, and so does DRF's time form figures, which indicate that there's going to be a lot of early speed in this particular race. With that in mind, I want a closer that can pick up the pieces, and I found one that's dropping in class for Steve Asmussen. I'm referring to number 4, Systemic Change. Systemic Change has spent the last 3 starts in starter allowance company. He comes out of a race, Josh, that I thought was live when it happened, and it's proven to be live because that day's second place finisher, My Noble Knight, came back and was a very impressive winner. I think the winner of that race, Gilmore, is a very nice horse that's finding his form at that starter allowance level. Systemic Change drops all the way in for a $25,000 tag, gets Joel Rosario, who you'd think would be able to keep him back and make one big late run. And I think he's going to get a lot of pace to run at in here because looking at this field, number 2, Suerte, is going to go. I think number 3, Opie Firecracker, is going to go. Number 6, Steiner, who was the subject of a brutal beat 2 starts ago for me out of the Wilson chute, I think he's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if Tiz Quantum shows some speed, and I also think number 8, Laughing Boy, is going to go too. With that in mind, I want closers. This is one that's been running against much better horses, and I think the faster they go early, the better Systemic chances, say that one 5 times fast, figure to be. Josh, I'm going to start off by taking a stand here that will allow me to spread elsewhere on the ticket. I am singling horse number 4, Systemic Change, 4-1 on the morning line, and I think we're going to get a price that's close to that.
Yeah, I also like the 4 Systemic Change, and I basically saw the pace scenario same as you, right? Obviously, shout out to DRF for providing us with some data here, and we got the time form USPPs up here, and the pace projector shows a fast pace. And whenever I see that, I start to take a bit of a look. Obviously, the 1 margin of error has been up on the pace. I think that was one that maybe you didn't mention before as part of the pace scenario. Number 2,
I
Suerte,
didn't,
definitely
but
has some early speed.
it's because I think the 1 might be able to get the stalk and pounce trip. If I was going to use another one, I would use the 1, but ultimately I just felt more comfortable singling the 4 and spreading elsewhere. Go on ahead.
Yeah, and I like not necessarily that the 1's going to vie for the lead, but I think the 1 is going to put pressure on anybody who is on the lead. Which I think, like I said, you said the 2 and the 6, you're probably most likely winners. The 8, also from the outside, is a horse that's got some speed. It's got Jose Ortiz aboard, so he tends to be pretty aggressive with some of these horses. Obviously, we've talked about these Finger Lake shippers. Is it Andrew Worry? He's not coming in here
Andre
to
Worry. Andre
Andre.
Worry.
Yeah, Andre. He's not going to sit. He's not coming in here to just sit back and he's going to send this horse. So I basically saw the same way as you. I think the 4 is going to get a nice little pace setup here. I don't know if you can get a better jock to horse kind of match here with Joel Rosario wanting to come from off the pace in this spot. And while you were talking, I did pull up the form. Obviously Gilmore ran really nice, or not the form, the chart, sorry. But the Gilmore ran really nice, and My Noble Knight came back and ran a 1:11 in that race, that next out race. So really just kind of I think solidified the figures and the form from that last race. Double Your Money came back to finish second in a race at Parks. So another horse that came back, and even the last place finisher in that race, Sagamore Mischief, came back to win a race, going 7 furlongs at Saratoga, and improved 5 points on that. So very productive race that you kind of pointed out. So I really do like this 4 here, my top pick. But I am going to use another horse, Andrew. And it is a horse that you had kind of mentioned as maybe part of the early pace scenario. But I looked at this horse, and I think that this horse is probably going to sit off and stalk. And that's a 7, Tiz Quantum. You kind of look at this horse's running style, and this horse has kind of been kind of all over the place. And I'm really looking at that mile race at Del Mar, and we're going back to 2022. I mean, we're going way back, but this is the horse that obviously closed from the clouds and won that race. Came back into allowance race and went wire to wire in that race and in 2023. And has got a really, really long layoff, and then all of a sudden they tried turf for some reason. Horse won, and now is back off another long layoff. The layoffs obviously scare me, which is why this horse is not my top pick. But if this horse runs back to any of those old dirt figures, I think this horse obviously is a total fit in here. Now, granted, We're talking pie in the sky type stuff here, right? You're trying to turn back the clock to 2023, when eggs were 99 cents a dozen. And yeah, I think that the pace figures make sense here. This looks like a horse that's going to want to come from off the pace, but this is a horse that we haven't seen for nearly a year, so who knows what we get here. But I'm including as an A. I didn't have this. I couldn't just single the 4 in this spot. I'm using another one, so I'm just 4-7 here. So I'm not too different from you. I just think that maybe there's a little bit of upside in that 7, and maybe we get maybe we get a slight little upset there.
I have to think there's a heck of a story with that 7 horse, and I hope we hear it on the
Mm-hmm.
NYRA broadcast. They're usually pretty good at fishing that stuff out.
Anything else on this race?
Only that if you have deeper pockets or you're playing smaller tickets and you want to use the 1, I can understand that. Margin of error last time out, won at this route of ground with a 107 time form figure. That sort of a race puts him right there in this spot. I don't necessarily know what he ran against last time out. Not necessarily the best field. Josh is pulling those up. But ultimately, I decided to single and spread elsewhere because as we move into race number 8, Josh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a clue what the heck to make of this one.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of a tough race. And I looked at this race. We're going a mile and eighth on the main track here. And Timeform doesn't have this rated as a fast pace here. So my eyes, as I'm known to do, immediately are looking, all right, who's going to be your leader? And I'm kind of, like I said, I'm clicking through the PPs, right? I think the one's, not been really forwardly placed. The 2, maybe, he was on the front end on a slow pace, but generally seems to kind of sit off. Cagliostro, is another horse that kind of sits mid pack to far back. I think he does do his best running when he's kind of tracking a pace, but Cook Creek, another one that's shown a little bit of speed in previous starts, but I think it's just kind of gone off form a little bit. Money Supply is just the weirdest horse. This is a horse I've loved previously. Caleb, every time he thinks I back this horse all the time. I think I've only gotten him I've only been on the right side of him like once, but he's one that's kind of wants to be off the pace, and then obviously another mid pack horse in the 8 full screen. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's just go with the speed. All right, we're going back to Josh 101 handicapping here. Obviously, I think your most likely leader is going to be the 6 Mama's Gold. Now, Romero Mirage has ridden this horse quite a bit for trainers. James Ferrero?
Yes.
Yeah. And he's been able to win on the front end. Obviously, he hasn't been since 2024 at some aqueduct races, but he was able to go ahead and set a pace and go wire to wire once at 40-1. And he's gotten the lead in each of his starts this year, right? So I think this horse is going to go. He's kind of folded up a little bit. I think 2 back in that New York bred stakes race. That was probably his best chance, but they tried the Whitney. Maybe just a little bit in over his head in the Whitney. But I think this is a horse that in New York bred stakes and probably like open allowance races is can really back himself up. So I think that in this spot that he's going to be obviously in a softer field, and if the track comes up very speed favoring, I think he's going to be he might be hard to catch. So I really like Mama's Gold at 6-1, but I think Film Star is kind of the horse to beat in this spot. Obviously, put up a huge 121 time form fig last time out at 6-1. Went wire to wire in that start with Jose Ortiz aboard. Jose Lascano gets aboard. I'm not really too concerned, with going from Jose to Jose in this spot. But This is a horse that has been able to run pretty well, kind of sitting in that second. And that stalking trip does have a stakes win at Laurel, obviously in December 21st of last year, with that same type of trip, and with a nice 118 time form figure in that spot. So um, I just need the 5 and 6 here, and I'm trying to stay skinny in this spot. But Andrew, you're kind of doing the exact opposite in here.
Yeah, I'm not going skinny at all. Ticket police line up in the comments section on YouTube. I'm buying this race. I don't have a clue. I honestly do not have a clue. And I'm going to go through this form here that I have. Number one, Winstock, graded stakes winner. Could absolutely win on his best day, gets Lasix back 1-2 starts ago. Number two, Speed Bias, much better on Lasix than off of Lasix 1-2 starts ago at Indiana. Number three, Cagliostro, has back numbers that certainly fit. It's been a long time between drinks. I'm not sure he wants 2 turns, but his best race probably wins this if he channels it. Number four, Cook Creek, looks a lot better if you draw a line through the Razorback, after which we haven't seen him for 6 months. Film Star's got a lot of early speed. Mama's Gold's got a lot of early speed. Money Supply, I remember being a Josh horse from earlier this year. Won back-to-back races on dirt. I think he's better on dirt than he is on turf, and I think there's a chance he's doing what he wants to do. Full Screen goes to the barn of Brad Cox. There are positives for every horse in this race. I don't think you're going to have an overwhelming favorite. I think the 5-2 on Cagliostro is probably about right, but it's a case where I think it's very likely you're going to see a third or fourth choice win this race at odds of, say, 9-2, 5-1, 6-1, and it pays bigger in the multis than it looks in the win pool. With that in mind, and with the fact that I am skinny enough elsewhere, Josh, I'm hitting the all button here. I'm moving on, and I'm turning the pick 4 into a pick 3. If I wind up getting my single home in race number 7, I can sit back and relax for about an hour.
I swear to God, Andrew, if you play a single all double, I will call the ticket police.
God, no, absolutely not. If anyone out there interprets this as me saying, you should play a single all double, no. You know what you do? You play a win bet. It's revolutionary. The cause get locked out with 2 minutes to post. That's what you do.
You know what your problem is, right? So here,
no, but I'm sure you'll tell me.
I'm going to put my marketing hat on. What if instead of calling it the win bet, we call it the pick 1?
That'd work. Yeah, there we go. That works out reasonably well. As we head to the inner turf for race number 9, this is the Addo, going 1 mile and a 16th, fillies and mares. Fun race, usually a fun race. One of several races on the calendar for the days around Travers Day featuring New York breds. These used to all be on one day. There were a couple of races on the Thursday card, the Fleet Indian and the Albany. There's a couple on Friday. There's a couple on Sunday. I'm not crazy about the way they split them up, but apparently they decided that it would be better from a handle perspective, so here we are. With that in mind, I am going to go 3 deep in here. I thought this was a pretty competitive race as well. My top selection is going to be a price, Josh. I think there's a chance that finally number 6 Brock Nardini has found her best form. She's a closer in here. There does seem to be, as I knock on wood, throw salt over my shoulder, some speed in this Naira turf race. I know, ridiculous, but she ran a really nice race last time out, coming off a little bit of a layoff. She rallied into a fast pace. She won by 2 1/4 lengths, and she could have won by double that. She was much, much, much the best on that particular occasion. She probably needed the race 2 starts back. That came against a number of horses that also show up in this spot, but that was off of a significant layoff. She had not run since October. You do see Flavian Pratt getting off, and you see Manny Franco coming on. That's not ideal. That's probably part of why we're getting 10-1. But the more I look at this race, the more I see a fair amount of early speed. And with that in mind, I think Brock Nardini is going to get the setup that she wants, and she'll have every chance if she's good enough. At 10-1, that hits me as a bit of an overlay. The other 2 I'm going to use are number 2, Awesome Check, and number 4, Spinning Colors. Awesome Check is a horse that's been around for quite a while, consistent horse who loves Saratoga. 3 for 4 with a third at the spa. Last time out, she found herself on the lead. That is not necessarily what this horse wants to do, but she was good enough to win with that trip anyway, which I thought was pretty darn impressive, getting blinkers for the first time for Horacio de Paz. Just super consistent when you look at this horse. And you see the time form numbers. Look at the ones for the last several turf races. 113 last time out, 106, 108, 110, 109, 109. You know what you're getting with this horse, and that matters to me. You've got some flexibility with the running style since she showed a new direction last time out. I do not think she's going to be on the lead. I think she's going to be just off of it. I think she sets a similar trip to the one she set 2 starts ago. And if she does that, maybe she gets first run. The other one I'm going to use is number 4, Spinning Colors. Spinning Colors, like a couple in here, does need the lead, but I think there's a chance that she's the quickest of the quick early on. This is another horse that does her best running at Saratoga. 3 wins and 5 local starts with a second. Last time out, she was second, beaten a half length by a next out stakes winner. 2 backs, she beat a bunch of these in the Mount Vernon, albeit with a Caleb candy ass trip. I think she may very well be the most likely pace setter in here. She's got one way of going. So certainly she's going to be forward, and I think her usual race gives her a shot. But if you're playing something in the win pool for some value, I think Brock Nardini is the way to go. I will, however, also be covered with Awesome Check and Spinning Colors. 2, 4, and 6 for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 2. I like the 2 in this spot. I do think that this is a horse that's got some versatility. Is not a need the lead type, has run some pretty nice races, kind of sitting off the pace as well. I think 2 back, right? You might look at that race where Spinning Colors kind of had it all her own way on the front end, was kind of able to go wire to wire. And, you see that the horse didn't really get involved much in that and finish third. So I do like Awesome Check here a little bit more, just because I kind of look at this and it looks like we do have a little bit more speed here. So I do think that Awesome Check would be the one that kind of is able to take advantage of that pace in front of her. I like Moon Age Daydream as well. This is another horse that has shown an ability not necessarily to close from very far back, but to kind of sit mid pack or track and win from there. Obviously, you look at the last race. We haven't seen this horse in nearly a year. But was seen winning a 3-year-old and up New York bred turf stakes race. Sat in third and was able to pounce and win by half length in that race. 3 back, kind of had the same trip, kind of set off, and then 2 back went wire to wire in that spot. Flavian Pratt was on the last 2 mounts, and he sees fit to ride here again. So I'm not really concerned about the layoff on that one. So I like that Flavian is staying aboard here. My top pick's probably going to be the 2. The 2 would probably be the one I would try in win bet or use in a tournament type situation. But I'll use both the 1 and the 2 in this spot, and that's all I'm going to have.
I saw what you saw in the 1, and there's a chance that Moonage Daydream is ready to go off the bench. I just don't think she beat a ton towards the end of last year. This is a good field for the level. You've got some horses that would be contenders in unlisted stakes races, maybe even grade 3s that are running here against New York breds. With that in mind, I thought Moonage Daydream was just a little bit of an underlay. I would have needed probably 6-1 or higher to consider playing that horse, and I don't think we're going to get that price, especially with Flavian Pratt in the irons. Would I be shocked if Moonage Daydream won? No, but it's just a case where the likely price just doesn't offer a lot of value for me. That's all.
Fair enough. Race 10. We got a 5.5 furlong turf sprint here. I landed on your morning line favorite, the 4 Alexis Zorba. This is a horse that I think has shown some speed, has been able to get to the front end, and has maybe been a little short. Has not been able to hold on to that the last couple times. But I mean, 5.5 furlongs, and I keep on seeing, it doesn't look like there's a ton of speed in this race. So I'll go back to this. Well, I really don't like taking such a short price on a horse that hasn't won in since basically the beginning of 2024. Um, but the speed figures that she's put up, um, or he's put up, just I mean, kind of tower over this field. I expect this horse is probably going to be much shorter. But yeah, Alexis Zorba definitely looks like the horse to beat in this spot. But I have two other horses I'm going to use. The number 11, holding the line. Look at this is a Wesley Ward horse going 5.5 furlongs at Saratoga. Frankie Dettori sees fit to jump aboard here. I mean, granted, you look at this horse and the form is all over the place, right? At at two, only ran one race, which is a 2-year-old stakes race in early May at um, Gulfstream Park. Hadn't been seen for a year. Came back at Turfway, won a nice little won a maiden claimer race. Back in the starter allowance, ran fine. The speed figure came back okay for I think a 3-year-old turf sprint in early May. Horse put on the shelf again for another 216 days. Comes back, runs okay at at Turfway again, put back on the shelf. But I mean, Wesley Ward is like the king of, hey, I'm only going to run this horse twice a year, and this horse is going to run a good figure. So I'll take a shot here from the outside with holding the line. I think the fact that Frankie Dettori gets aboard is a good sign, and I don't have. Let's pull up the meat stats here for Wesley Ward, but I feel like they've been pretty good. 17% this year, so maybe a little bit colder than he normally has been, but he's got 4 seconds and 2/3, so in a very limited sample size. So maybe he's been a little bit snake bitten here, but I do think that the 11 holding the line makes a bit of sense here in this spot. And then I have this horse written down as a B, but is probably more likely going to be an A. The 10 hard par. So Romero Mirage wants, or is this Rajiv?
No, it's
Uh,
Romero.
Oh, it's Romero. Okay. Mirage is aboard here. Has ridden this horse before, but this is a horse that's gotten the likes of Flavian Pratt to ride, Joel Rosario to ride. So this is a horse that at least has been considered live in certain spots. Has got a win going 6 furlongs. Tried the 5.5 2 or 3 weeks back or 4 weeks back now with Joel Rosario aboard, and was kind of off slow in that race. This isn't a horse that has really. I mean, this is a horse that is going to be coming late, but not 10 lengths off, right? So kind of crossing the line through that race. Has a race that is at 100 in a time form figure. And honestly, I mean, the fastest figure in this field is a 106 by Alexis Zorba. So I do think that this horse has got maybe some sneaky good speed figures to kind of bet here. This is a horse that's going to be 15-1, 15-1 in the book. And this is a horse that's going to be closing in this race. So I do think that if for some reason you do think that there's a lot of pace in this race, I think the 10 could be kind of sneaky coming from off of it. This is a tournament type play, kind of a bomb win bet type play if you're looking to just maybe try and get out for the day in the last race. But I really like the 10 hard par. I have this horse as a B, but I'm using it. I'm probably going to use it as an A because I don't really have that big of a ticket here. But I got the 4, 10, 11 in this spot. Andrew, where did you land?
Well, we agree on one out of your three horses, and it's your probable favorite, and that's the 4 Alexis Sorba. I usually detest betting horses that are one for a lot with a lot of seconds. Alexis Zorba's 1 for 19 with 8 second place finishes. In order to back this horse, there had to be a compelling reason. This horse takes a massive class drop. That's the compelling reason. This is a runner that's dropping in from a $50,000 starter allowance race won by a pretty nice turf sprinter in Billionaires Row to a 35,000 non-winners of 2 life event. You're not going to find many bigger class drops than that at Saratoga. With that in mind, I think Alexis Zorba is absolutely the one to catch. And if he doesn't wind up winning here, he's going to be one for forever, I think, because this is set up for everything he wants. He wants to be alone on the front end. He gets Joel Rosario, who, for as good as he is coming from behind, is also very good putting speed horses where they need to be when he wants to be. I think Alexis Zorba is far and away the fastest horse in here, and that one's a lone A for me. There are a couple of horses in here that have a history of finding trouble, and I find them to be tricky to back on their own, but I will use one of them as a B, and that's the 8 Nano Man. Nano Man last time out was second at this level en route back on July 26th. The running line says got bumped at the break. I don't know how severe that contact really was, but he was able to shake it off and he ran a pretty good second. If you only look at this guy's turf sprints, you wind up with a pretty compelling sheet. Nano Man last time out runs second. You've got to go all the way back to November of 2024 for his last turf sprint. He runs fourth, beaten less than 2 lengths by Twisted Filigree, who's a pretty darn good New York bred. Before that, September 15th at Aqueduct, runs fifth, beaten 4 lengths against Open Optional Claiming Company. Not bad there. Then you've got 2 races at Saratoga, one of which was a win at this level. This guy's turf sprint efforts show that he is a turf sprinter, that he likes this route. Ricardo Santana sees fit to ride back, and he's enjoyed a very good meet to this point. Of the runners that seem to find their own trouble, which sometimes makes them tricky to endorse, I think there's reason to believe Nano Man is at least doing what he wants to do. He's been competitive at this level, goes second off the layoff for an astute barn that doesn't run too many horses. I think Nano Man is live, and I think he's got enough of a chance to where I'm going to use him in this late pick 4, even though if Alexis Zorba fires, the race is probably for second. If you want to single a horse that's 1 for 19 with 8 seconds, more power to you. I'm doing the cross symbol if you're listening to this on Spotify, because that takes a lot of faith.
Anything else in this race?
It's a fun little race if you don't like Alexis Zorba. If you're bound and determined to bet against Alexis Zorba, you've got a couple of options. I noticed holding the line. Number 9 Film Academy won 2 starts ago. Had a strange trip last time, but is a horse that I think tends to make his own trouble. You've also got a potential My Racehorse takeout reducer in the form of the 6 Identity Crisis, who won with a Dream Trip 2 back, drops in after running pretty terribly last time out at this route. You've got a couple of nice horses in here for the level. Cousin Ed, the 2 makes a little bit of sense. And number 3, Richard Ave ships up from Monmouth for George Weaver, and George Weaver in a Saratoga turf sprint. You really don't need much more reason to bet that horse. If you like Alexis Zorba, the race goes through that one. If you don't, there are about 6 or 7 different directions you can go. Fun finale.
Anything else on this card?
It's a pretty fun card. I will say that I had to handicap this a little bit differently than most. If you've been watching us on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Go on down below, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out. You might have noticed I don't have paper in front of me. Josh, my past performances are entirely black and white. My printer decided it didn't want to print unless I replaced the color cartridge. And guess who didn't have a color cartridge on hand until tonight when I got home and there was an Amazon package? So I had to do it all on the computer, which sometimes is a recipe for disaster. But Josh, I like this late pick 4. I'm pretty happy with this. And if we wind up getting the single home, who I don't think is going to be favored given some of the talent in that race, I think this could pay pretty well.
Nice. What else you got going on this weekend?
Oh, boy. So this weekend is pretty busy, not just with the Travers, but my father-in-law has his birthday party on Saturday in an Italian restaurant we like very much. My wife has been busy trying to tweak the prefix menus that they offered because my wife's grandparents are very picky eaters. Which you can imagine how much fun that is for her to do and going back and forth with the restaurant, which thankfully has been incredibly accommodating with absolutely everything. Shout out to Trabuco in Alameda, California. Cannot recommend that place highly enough. Also on Sunday, I have my first fantasy football draft of the season. I had a couple of good seasons last year, had a win, had a second. keep a couple of guys out of this league. So it's actually going to be a lot of fun. This is with a bunch of former Albany, New York media members. So really good to be able to touch base and have some fun doing that. So a lot of fun things going on there, potentially some other fun stuff in the works. And if something fun does materialize, you'll be able to find that out at my Twitter at Andrew Champagne or my website, andrewchampagne.com. There we go.
My button's not working. What the heck? I literally hit it 4 times.
Well, you really need to follow the instructions of the Pussycat Dolls and loosen up your buttons.
You're lucky I don't have the boo set up.
I know you don't have the
boo
button. That's why I said it.
Goodness gracious. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Drank and Champagne. Check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. He is at Andrew Champagne, andrewchampagne.com. Check out our friends at DRF, chat.drf.com to check out the new chat bot at DRF. Check out our friends at AM Wager. Sign up with our little referral code there. Hit the like and subscribe button. Find us on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, or I don't even Spotify. What are the other ones? I don't even know what people use.
You got
there. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're a video podcast guy, we do video podcasts on Spotify as well, so you can check that out. But for Andrew, I'm Josh. Have a good weekend. Let's make some money.